So let me introduce Eric Sunstrum. Nice to see you, Eric. So good to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
Good. Eric Sunstrum and his wife Cynthia make their home near Ottawa, Ontario, and have enjoyed over 20 years sailing in the Thousand Islands and the Bay of Quinte. Active members of the Great Lakes Cruising Club, they recently coordinated the 2019 Great Lakes Cruising Club Lake Ontario Rally and the 2019 Georgian Bay Rally. They keep their Catalina 28 sailboat named Northern Whisper at the Trident Yacht Club in the Thousand Islands. I had the privilege of meeting Eric a year ago at the boat show, and this year I went back and sat in on his presentation, loved it. And so we talked, and that's why he's here today. So let's give Eric a nice, warm Shellback welcome.
Thank you. Yes, Diane, we keep meeting on the streetcar on the way to the boat show every year. It's quite fun. And thank you so much for inviting me today. I feel very privileged to talk to this group. I'm going to talk to you today about cruising the Thousand Islands and the Bay of Quinte area. As Diane said, Cynthia and I have been sailing for over 20 years in this area. We've been we think it's one of the most spectacular areas, and it's certainly close to most of you in the Toronto area at least. And hopefully, I'll be able to shed a little bit of light on the area for you and bring you along on this little bit of cruise. Diane briefly mentioned the Great Lakes Cruising Club, which I'm a member of. I'm the Rear Commodore for the Great Lakes for Lake Ontario and connecting waterways. And for those of you who don't know, I know you've had a presentation from my colleague David Spencer a little earlier in the year, so you might know this already, but Great Lakes Cruising Club is the foremost source of information for cruising the Great Lakes. Anyone who is a member has access to over 1,000 online harbor reports, and which contain 89 years of collective knowledge. I actually looked it up today, and the Shellbacks and the Great Lakes Cruising Club were both founded in 1934. Our harbor reports are authoritative, accurate, and up to date. They're kept up by members, and certainly the information that you'll hear about today is all included in our harbor report. So if you're interested in that, you can certainly get a hold of me, or just look up the Great Lakes Cruising Club online, and you can get some more information on that. But that's my last bit of self-promotion. I'm going to get right into our webinar now. What I'm going to talk about today is, if you're headed out, I'm going to show you a little bit about, talking to you a little bit about planning your cruise, how to get to the area, some of the cities, towns, and quiet anchorages that are included. And we'll spend a little bit of time on the Thousand Islands National Park, one of the certainly the jewels of the Canadian Canadian story. And we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. So this is the area that we're going to be talking about today. It's goes from the historic Murray Canal in the West End to the city of Brockville, the gateway to the Thousand Islands. It's about 100 nautical miles, and we're going to take you from one end to the other. Some of the things that you might want to carry with you when you're traveling in this area, these are certainly some of the things that I have on board, are of course our Great Lakes Cruising Club harbor reports for Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence River. The ports books are very good. I have an old copy. It's got great pictures to get you in and out of anchorages and marinas, and lots of phone numbers and the like that are useful. And I also carry Richardson's Lake Ontario chart book to complement my paper charts as well as my electronic chart on our Catalina 28 Northern Whisper. If you're looking for information on things to see and do, certainly the Parks Canada website is very good because it not only has information on the Trent Severn waterway, which includes the Murray Canal on but also on the Thousand Islands National Park. The province of Ontario and city tourism websites are also great places to look up when you're headed out. We're going to talk about something important, and actually probably something that's a lot more important today than it was even when I gave this presentation at the boat show in January. It's a note about crossing the border by boat. Now, the Canada-US border does run through the Thousand Islands, and certainly you have to be, these days, extremely careful on knowing where you are to make sure that you're on, that you know where you are before you drop your hook, because some of the islands in the Thousand Islands are very close together and they can be in different countries. And landing, when you're talking about landing on your neighbor's side of the border, that means either by anchoring or by tying up or contacting another boat. If you do either one of those things, you absolutely must report to appropriate authorities each time you cross the border. There's nothing wrong with coasting, which for those of you familiar, because the border does go right through the middle of the St. Lawrence River, you're going to be going in and out of the country. But as long as you don't anchor or tie up or talk to another boat, you're fine. But that all could change. I'm certainly not recommending crossing the border until things straighten out down there, but that's just my own personal opinion. And if you have any doubt whatsoever, contact either the CBSA or Customs and Border Protection in the States if you have any doubts on the procedure. And those telephone numbers are available on their websites. Getting to there by boat from Toronto to Presqu'île Bay, which is the mouth of the Murray Canal, is about 70 nautical miles. Certainly something doable in a powerboat in a day or so, but if you're sailing, you might want to take advantage of all those beautiful spots along northern Lake Ontario to take your time to get to the area. If you're coming across the lake from Rochester to Presqu'île Bay, it's a 40 nautical mile straight shot with nowhere in between to stop. So you pretty much have to commit to leaving early and getting there late. If for folks coming from the Quebec side to Brockville, it's 110 nautical miles. It's still quite a distance, but we get quite a few of our folks from the Quebec side to get into the Thousand Islands in the peak of summer. And we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. And if you have a trailer boat, launch ramps are readily accessible in all of the spots that I talk about today. So certainly something to think about if you're getting ready to cruise. It's totally doable in a smaller boat, because especially if you stay off of the larger lake. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Murray Canal to Trenton. That's our first leg in our journey. You'll see over on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, we talk about the Murray Canal, where there's 2 swing bridges. Make sure you check the hours of operation before you head out there. We'll talk about that. And if you get in there before or after the place opens, you certainly can tie up at either end of the canal, but there are no facilities. There is a small boat channel when you get out of the Murray Canal and into the Trenton area, but it's not recommended. So as I said, the western entrance of the Bay of Quinte is the Murray Canal. It's 5 miles long. It opened up in 1889. It was part of the Trent Severn Waterway, actually the first part of the Trent Severn Waterway that opened. And there's 2 swing bridges, one at Brighton Road and one at Carrying Place. The bridge masters, which are Parks Canada employees, they monitor VHF channel 14. And they'll group boats together when you're going through there. So if you're in a group of boats, don't bother rushing to try and beat the traffic to the next bridge, because they'll just hold you up and make sure that you go through in a group. They swing on demand. Now, the only time that I've ever really been delayed at the bridge is one time when an ambulance went over to catch somebody on, to pick somebody up on Carrying Place. They closed the bridge until the ambulance goes back. So there was a delay of about 40 minutes at that time. But generally speaking, they open on demand. And they monitor channel 14. And so keep your VHF radio tuned to that, because they like to keep you up to date. And you'll see there, this year's season, it opens up on May 16th, which is the weekend before the long weekend, I believe. And it runs until the weekend after Thanksgiving in October. And the fees for crossing the bridge are $5.50 Canadian. And for those of you who have been to church, this is how you pay. It might look familiar. There you go. It's a $5.50 fee, and what they do is they put a little tin pot out on the end of a stick to collect your fee. And I remember at one time the rate for going under the bridges where it was $4.90. And what they did was they taped a dime to the bottom of the box for anybody who was too cheap to, when they dropped the 5 in and didn't want to keep the change, them to keep the change. So once you get through the Murray Canal, you're into the city of Trenton, or Quinte West as it's known these days. There's lots of things to see and do, and it's certainly worth a stay for a couple of days to enjoy while you're enjoying your trip. Some of the events, they have free music in the park on Friday evenings during the summer. The National Air Force Museum is a really interesting attraction. It's about a taxi ride, mind you, from the marinas, but it's certainly worth seeing. And there's, of course, wineries tours available in town. And if you're interested in the Trent Severn Waterway, you can take a short dinghy ride from the Trent Port Marina to go up to lock number 1 just to see how things operate. And they're more than willing to show you around. Trent Port Marina is my favorite marina, probably on the entire lake. It's located just before the bridge on the Trent River and the entrance to the Trent Severn Waterway. It's opened in 2015. It has a boat launch, gas, diesel, pump out, and a marine store is available. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. Very close to downtown. You can walk to get your groceries and the like. Really, really, really great spot. And if you're a member of a yacht club, you can also get reciprocal privileges at the CFB Trenton Yacht Club, which is not shown on my map, but it's a little further east from Trent Port Marina. They offer mast stepping for any boats that are planning on going up to Trent Severn. The Trent Port Marina used to do that, but they don't do that anymore. So you can arrange that at the CFB Trenton Yacht Club. Leaving Trenton now and heading to Belleville, there's a well-marked route from Trenton to Belleville. It's about 12 statute miles. Let me see. Arrow. See if I got this. Sorry. Jumped here. So as I said, it's a well-marked channel to Belleville. It's about 12 statute miles. There are a few shallow sections in along the route, but they are well marked with buoys. And enjoy the calm waters before you get into the bigger lake. You end up in the city of Belleville, which is about, as I said, about 9 nautical miles away. It's a city of about 50,000 people situated at the mouth of the Moira River. Our harbor report for the Great Lakes Cruising Club is 033. You'll see that there's lots of places in Belleville to tie up. Myers Pier Marina, which is the municipal marina, is the, you'll see on the bottom left. It's easy to spot when you get out of the when you get under the bridge in Belleville with the big red roof. It has gas and diesel, of course, pump out, and it's close to downtown, easily to walk, and it's a really easy in and out for fueling. Crate Marine, which is not shown here, but it's just to the port side when you enter into Belleville Harbor, and it's fairly new facility. They have transient slips and a full marine service. So if you take that small boat channel that I told you not to, and you need to get your propeller fixed, this is the place that you want to get it done. And the Bay of Quinte Yacht Club, they have a visitor's dock for reciprocal members. They don't have a lot of room though. There's only room for about four boats, and they don't take reservations. So you have to dip in there or radio them when you're nearby. Just be careful when you're going into Crate Marine and the Bay of Quinte Yacht Club, because it does silt quite a bit around there. And they do move the markers throughout the summer to make sure that you've got the best route in. But Bay of Quinte Yacht Club, very great people there, and they'll certainly accommodate you if they can. Leaving Belleville to Picton now, it's about a 29-mile route to Picton through Big Bay. Use care through the Telegraph Narrows. I heard a little anecdote before we started about somebody who had a little problem there when one of the markers moved. It's at the far eastern end of Big Bay, and it's probably one of the very few navigational channels or challenges that you might have on this route. So just pay attention to your charts, and you won't have any trouble. You'll see on the map on the bottom left-hand corner where the route goes from more or less west-east down to north-south and along to north Long Reach. Now, that's another tricky part. You want to make sure that you leave Forest Island to starboard. You don't want to go take a shortcut through there because it's quite rocky in there, and there's no room for error. So just leave Forester Island to starboard and following the marks, and you won't have any problem. The other thing to be aware of is Big Bay. It's a nice bay, but it's shallow, so it can get very choppy with the prevailing wind. So just keep an eye on that. It's not all that far of a crossing, but it can whip up pretty quickly. But it's usually quite nice. After you turn south at Deseronto, you've got 11 more beautiful miles to Picton. It can be a Long Reach is well named because it can, if the wind is right, you can just have one little jibe at Forester Island and head a beeline straight down to Picton. It's a gorgeous sail. There's a couple of overnight anchorage options in Long Reach. Grassy Point behind Forester's Island, which we talked about earlier, and in Hay Bay behind Ram Island, and Whitlow Point on Hay Bay. Past Hay Bay is you're getting into Picton, Picton is just another beautiful spot to stay. The town itself in Picton Bay now has a couple of options. The Prince Edward Yacht Club, they have limited transient spaces, but they always try and fit you in. Highly recommended spot there, and has reciprocal privileges for most yacht clubs on the lake. And the Port of Picton, now recently they've put in a whole bunch of new docks in Picton Bay, where some of you might have been familiar with Tip of the Bay Yacht Club that had quite quite a few docks, but they were closed for a couple of years. Now they put in brand new docks. They're all aluminum and they're very nice. Um, and they're run by the town in cooperation with a private company. So they have room. There's I think about 40 slips in there now, and certainly worth looking at. The little spot on your bottom left corner is the gas hut. There's showers there, and they have a ramp, and they have gas and diesel. And Picton, I think, is one of the most beautiful little towns on the lake. And I'm sure all of you are aware how busy it's getting these days, but it's really something to see by boat. It's got probably one of the nicest main streets in the province. For those of you who have kids on board, you might be interested in getting a ride out to Sandbanks Provincial Park. They take reservations now. You can't get in there. It's not a first come, first serve anymore, so you have to make reservations and plan your trip, but it's certainly worth seeing with the kids. It's a beautiful beach. For a little more adult activities, there's a really active arts and summer theater season there. Wine tours are available. Provisioning is all very simple from the docks. The Regent's Theater on the bottom left is one of my favorite spots because you can see live theater there, or movies when there's nothing going on, and it's a great spot to catch a play in the summertime. Now we're going to be headed from Picton now to Kingston, which is a 39-mile run. So you might want to split this up with side trips. There's a couple of spots. We'll talk about Wapoose and Main Duck Island. And also one of the things that you should watch for is once you get out of once you get out of the Bay of Quinte and you're traveling along Amherst Island, there's a couple of spots that can get very choppy because they're wide open fetch across the entire Lake Ontario. We'll talk about that. So from Picton to Cressy Point, which is going back. Cressy Point is right at the end of the Bay of Quinte. You'll find Prinier Cove. And Prinier Cove is just a beautiful spot. It's well protected. It's just west of the Upper Gap, and it's protected from all winds except coming from the north. That picture was taken about 6 o'clock in the morning. It was just idyllic there. Now, there's getting fewer and fewer opportunities for anchoring inside this place. They've dropped a lot of mooring buoys there. So if you are staying, if you get in deep enough, you can certainly find anchorage in weedy bottom. But if you're so inclined, just pick up a mooring ball and somebody from the marina will come by and charge you. Last time I checked, it wasn't any more than $20 for a night. And as long as it doesn't say private on it, you can tie up and somebody will come by. Once you're done at Prinier Cove, if you want to head out around the point into the big water for a little bit, you can head to a couple of places near Wapoose, which have good anchoring, either Half Moon Bay or Smith's Bay. Or you can stop in at what I call the somewhat eclectic Wapoose Marina. Now, Wapoose is a great spot. Like it just has so much to offer. The wineries, the cideries, local produce in season when you walk along the route. But the marina has gotten a little long in the tooth, and they've had a couple of new owners over the last couple of years, and it's really hard to tell what they're up to. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not. But you can certainly, it's certainly worth a try to get in there, so that you can get off the boat and stretch your legs and walk around the county. It's really worthwhile. And if you can't get into the marina, it's easy enough just to drop an anchor right across the way. So I recommend it. Now, and if you're not going over to Wapoos around the point, you can go up the North Channel. It's not the North Channel that David Spencer talked about, mind you, but it's the one bounded by Amherst Island to the south and the mainland to the north. There's a couple of really great anchorages along that way, Kerr Bay and Stella Bay. That picture there of Kerr Bay gives you an idea. They're very big anchorages. They give you really good protection from all winds except for the north, which doesn't happen all that often, I must say. And if it is happening, you'll know it's happening. So don't bother trying to get in there. But they're all in about 20 feet of water with sand mostly bottom, so it's a really good holding, and there's lots of room in them, so you still have your own bit of privacy, even though there are can be quite a few boats in there. Loyalist Cove Marina is an option on the south shore of the mainland. It does have limited transient slips. And it does have, this slide should be updated, it does have full marine service, gas and diesel now. And there is a harbor report for that if you're members of the Great Lakes Cruising Club. At the end of the North Channel is Collins Bay. Collins Bay Marina is a great spot. It's one of the first marinas in Canada to get the Green Marine certification. There's lots of dockage in there. There's a yacht club. They do have limited reciprocal privileges when members are out, but you're likely best off to make your arrangements through the Collins Bay Marina itself. Now, the one thing I will say about Collins Bay Marina is, if you're looking for a very quiet evening, this is probably not the spot. And I'll give you 3 reasons: trains, planes, and automobiles. The marina itself is about a quarter mile from the CN main line, so you'll get the trains going through overnight. It's very close to the Kingston Airport, so the smaller planes that go in and out of there will buzz your mast in the morning, and it's also very close to Highway 2 in Bath. So it's a little rowdy, but it's still a nice spot to get off and stretch your legs, especially if you want to save up your energy for the next stop on our trip, which is Kingston, the gem of the lake, in my opinion. It's as you all know, it's a great city at the eastern part of Lake Ontario. Really busy waterfront with something for everyone. You'll see the sites here, the beautiful City Hall and the Main Street, which there's always something going on. And then, of course, the world famous Kingston Brew Pub on the bottom right for some great cask ales. Your options for marinas in Kingston are, of course, the Kingston Municipal Marinas. Now, for both the Confederation Basin and Portsmouth Olympic Harbor, you have to make reservations by telephone, and they're only accepted 48 hours in advance. So you have to plan ahead and telephone them in order to get a spot, because they can get very, very, very busy. Confederation Basin is probably the most popular because it's located right downtown, right across from City Hall. You step off and you've got all the restaurants in downtown and groceries and everything that you need. But it's very lively, so be prepared. There's always something going on in the park or whatever. So if you're going there, and it's a great spot, but it's pretty lively. Portsmouth Olympic Harbor is a good option if you want to be a little bit quieter. It's west of downtown. It was built for the Montreal Olympics. They've got really good in and out for gas, diesel, and pump out. If you're for maneuvering, it's excellent in there. It's also a good spot to clear customs if you're coming across the lake. There are redevelopment plans for the Portsmouth, but they've been in progress for years, and I haven't heard any updates on them. But they keep warning you that they're going to be doing something. It's also where the Cork. It's also where Cork, the Canadian Olympic sailing trials are held every August. So there can be lots of dinghies going in and out of Portsmouth. So forewarned is forearmed. There's other options. Of course, the Kingston Yacht Club, which is located just west of Confederation Basin. They have gas, diesel, and pump out as well. They have reciprocal privileges, but very limited space. They don't have a lot of docks there. And they'll open, but if one slip is open, they'll certainly let you in. And Kingston Marina, which is to the east of Confederation Basin, north of the LaSalle Causeway, which we'll talk about shortly. It is a full-service marina, quiet spot with easy walking distance to downtown. Now, the problem is the LaSalle Causeway. You may know this, but in 2024, it was demolished due to structural failure. They were working on it, doing some maintenance, and they broke it basically. So they had to tear it down, and so the new bridge, they've replaced it with a floating modular bridge. Now it's a closed bridge, but it allows removal and reinstallation so that they can basically barge it out to allow traffic access, because this is the access to the Rideau Canal on the southern end, right? So the proposed schedule for 2025 is that they'll open it on Sundays, weather permitting, for a couple of hours. Now, if your air draft is less than 15 feet, there is a spot that you can get under on the east side, but if not, you're going to have to if you want to go up north towards the Rideau Canal, you're going to have to wait until those opening times. Refer to the LaSalle Causeway website for updates. That's really unfortunate because they used to open every hour on the hour, and they would lift the bridge, and so it's really has to affect the traffic in the Rideau Canal. You can think of people, especially coming from the north, coming from Ottawa down into Kingston, getting stuck down there and having to wait for the bridge. So something to think about. And what to do in Kingston? Well, there's lots to do, of course. Kingston Farmers Market is just a few steps from the marina. It's open 3 days a week behind City Hall. And if you're having trouble getting out of bed in the morning, you might listen for that'll get you woken up. That's the noon gun at Old Fort Henry. It's just a few steps away from the marina. And if you want a little excitement, you can walk onto the Wolf Island Ferry. It's free. And you can get into Wolf Island. There's a couple of really great pubs down on the other side, or take your bikes and go for a bike ride along Wolf Island. It's gorgeous. So now we're going to be leaving Kingston and entering into the Thousand Islands. Now there's 3 entrances to the Thousand Islands area. From Kingston, you take the Bateau Channel, which is the north side of Howe Island, or you can take the south side and the Canadian Middle Channel. That's between Howe and Wolfe. Or you can see, if you're coming from the south, sorry. Oh, I have a touchy mouse. If you're coming from the US side, you can take the International Shipping Channel, which is along the south shore of the river. We'll talk about the first 2, And then we'll circle back into the international shipping channel later. All right. There we go. So Kingston to Gananoque, 18 statute miles via the Bateau Channel. And it's similar if you take the middle channel. Pay attention to the markers because you are getting into the rocky area of the Thousand Islands. And we all know that granite beats fiberglass every time. Pay attention to the markers and know where you are at all times. That's simple. That's what everybody does, right? When you're on the boat. And there tends to be an upswing in traffic in this area too. So be courteous to other boaters and cottage owners. Watch your wakes. The Thousand Islands National Park, a little introduction here. It's operated by Parks Canada. It includes 19 islands stretching from Cedar Island, just east of Kingston, to Stoughton, which is just near Brockville on the eastern side. We'll be traveling along that route. All the islands are identified with a sign in case you get lost. So watch out for the Parks Canada signs. Options for mooring include combinations of docks and mooring cans. Some of them only have docks, some of them have both, some of them have mooring cans. You can check the Parks Canada literature and websites for that kind of information. There's composting toilets on all of the islands. And if you are interested in anything, if you need any interesting or any help, you can certainly call my wife and I. We're port captains for the Great Lakes Cruising Club for the Thousand Islands. So we'll be happy to help you out. And our contact information is at the end of the presentation. Some of the administrative bits about the park fees and rules. Dock space overnight is $1.25 a foot. And a mooring buoy, if you have a boat 40 feet or less, is $21.50 a night. So they also have seasons passes available. And so that's something to do if you're planning on staying in the islands for a little while. You might want to do the math. And because the seasons pass might actually turn out to be more affordable. The other thing to remember about the mooring pass in the Thousand Islands is it also covers your mooring in the Trent Severn Waterway, the Rideau Canal, and the Georgian Bay National Park Islands. So that might be, that's something else to keep in mind if you're traveling along that route. There's a launch fee of $13.50 if you're going in. There's a couple spots in Merrickville, for example, or not Merrickville. Yes, Merrickville, sorry, to launch your boat. And Parks Canada staff collect the fees daily. You can stay as a maximum of 4 days in any spot. It used to be 3 days, but if you find a spot that you like and you're there for a couple of days, just be forewarned that you have to move after 4 days, find yourself another island. And some islands offer garbage disposal, but theirs are getting fewer and far between. So be prepared to pack in and pack out. And the other thing to be aware of is most islands don't allow the use of inboard or outboard generators. There are a few. There's signage posted on the islands, on every island, that says what amenities they have. So they'll tell you whether or not you can run your generator or not. And those rules are in place to ensure everyone has a pleasant experience. And so your best bet is to follow them, and you'll have a great time. The Bateau Channel, back to navigating, is just east of Milton Island, about maybe 6 miles from Kingston. It's marked with a really big green light at Cassidy Shoal, which doesn't seem to work well, the light works all the time, but people don't pay attention to it all the time, because I've seen more boats on the rocks in Cassidy Shoal than any other place on Thousand Islands. So just pay attention. They're generally well marked, but it does have shovel spots. There's two cable ferries on Howe Island, one at each end. So give them room. They'll have the right of way. So just slow down when you see them, and you won't have any trouble. There's a couple of spots to stop along the way. Treasure Island Marina, which unfortunately they have a restaurant, but last year it wasn't open. They had a hard time after COVID, not with customers, but getting staff, unfortunately. So hopefully they'll open that up again. But Treasure Island does have a few spots in the launch ramp, as well as services. The Trident Yacht Club, which my wife Cynthia and I belong to, there's a picture of it there. We welcome boaters from across the Great Lakes. We have transient slips available when members leave, but our members tend to go out, so we're not dock sitters. So you'll very likely be able to find a spot there, and we have pump out. We don't have fuel or anything. Clark's Marina, which is a little further east, does have those transient slips and those services available. The Canadian Middle Channel is also east of Kingston. That's the second entrance into the Thousand Islands that I talked about. Instead of going north of Howe Island, you can go south. It's a great spot. You're in the 40 acres. It's a great place to shake the reefs out on your sails and have a little day sail. It's connects to the international shipping channel via the Island Cut. So if you're interested in heading across to the US to see a couple of the spots there, that's one way to do it. And we'll talk a little bit about those later. On the south shore of Howe Island, going along the Canadian Middle Channel, there's a couple of, again, really good anchorages, similar to the ones that are on Amherst, meaning they're large and sandy and with good protection in all but north winds. Cassidy Bay actually is the exception. They're okay unless you're in the prevailing south west winds, where you can be open to swells. But the other, Breaky and Irvine Bay, are excellent choices. Again, large anchorages with lots of rooms for boats, and easy enough to get away from close anchoring. And just be wary of the cottages. They're not as jam-packed as a lot of anchorages, but there are cottages on there. So just be aware and be courteous, I suppose would be the word, when anchoring near cottages. Now into the Thousand Islands National Park, Admiralty Islands. Down this map on the left-hand side, you'll see the water coming in here. That's the Bateau Channel. And this group of islands here are known as the Admiralty Islands, named after admirals from the War of 1812, British admirals from the War of 1812. It's south of Gananoque, and you'll see there's 5 different ones there with various services, docks, or anchorages. And if you can't get into any of these islands, there's certainly lots of anchorage opportunities along around them. So just check your charts, and you'll be fine. Here's a couple of pictures of some of the Admiralty Islands. You'll notice Aubrey, that's Northern Whisper down there beside a houseboat, which there are a few houseboats in the area. It's a great spot. And you'll see McDonald Island. Now, these 2 pictures were taken on the same weekend, and you'll see that there's only 2 boats on Aubrey, and there's about maybe 10 that I can see there on McDonald. That might have something to do with the fact that they allow generators on that island. So that's something to be aware of. And here's another picture from Mermaid Island, which is one of the smaller islands in the Admiralty group. And it's, again, a nice quiet spot. We picked a good quiet spot there. This was the fall, so it's generally a little less traveled. There's, as I said, there's lots of bays and coves that offer good anchorages. But again, even if the water is public, the land might be private. So be courteous and watch your depth. That Half Moon Bay and Bostwick Island is a little spot that we went through with our kayak on Sundays during the summer. They offer a service to mariners that you can go in there and participate. Gananoque is probably the next biggest town to Kingston, actually, on the Thousand Islands, and they have a great municipal marina there. They're doing some work. They've done some work over the winter to improve the dockage, although the dockage is quite good. They do have transient slips and showers and pump out and all that Wi-Fi. It's about a 10 or 15-minute walk to downtown where you can pick up all the important things like sailboat fuel and groceries and restaurants. There is a shopping dock as you enter the marina on the starboard side that's available for 3 hours if you don't want to get a spot. And if you don't want to stay into the marina, you can still take advantage of the shopping dock and go and do some groceries. It's a dinghy ride from those islands that I just spoke about, so that's an option as well. And this is things to do in Gananoque. This is something I tend to recommend. It's a good foul weather activity, but it's also good if you just want to get an overview of the Thousand Islands when you're there, is to grab one of the Gananoque boat tour boat lines tours. It's a great way to see the area and get a little sense of the history and the like. There's tours to Bolt Castle, which is in the United States, so bring your passports. But that's something that you might be interested in. So I always encourage a tour boat ride, especially if you've got guests on board or children and they want to see a little more than you might have time for. The Thousand Islands Playhouse in Gananoque is a great summer theater spot. We saw Mamma Mia there last year. They actually have a dock that you can tie up to and stay if you're in watching a play. And of course, the main street has all the amenities. Leaving Gananoque now and still heading east towards Adelaide Island, it's about a 20 statuette mile cruise. But as I said, again, pay attention to the markers and know where you are at all times because there are shallow spots and narrow spots. And you can tell by this chart on the bottom right-hand side, you're going to want to zoom in on that because you want to know where you're going. This Endymion Island and Camelot Island are two of the Lake Fleet Islands. Lake Fleets are so named after ships, British ships in the War of 1812. They're south of Gananoque and near Grindstone Island, which is the US side. Endymion has docks and mooring buoys, and Camelot as well. Lots of gunk holing opportunities around as well. That picture on the left-hand side, we call that the honeymoon dock. That's so-called because there's only room for one boat on it. And on the other side, that's for Parks Canada boats. If you see a yellow line on the dock, don't tie up there. That's for Parks Canada. And the picture of the sunset is moored out in Endymion on the bay. The Navy Islands are the next group, and they're a little further east. Gordon, Mulcaster, Nanette, all good anchoring, and Gordon and Mulcaster have docks. Nanette is anchoring, good anchoring spot. And there's also Wellesley Island State Park Marina, which is on the US side. You can get gas there and some transient slips, but remember you're headed into the US at that point, so you have to clear customs. Now, I'm gonna, just one hint about clearing customs. Again, I don't know what it's going to be like this summer, but my recommendation to you is if you want to visit both sides of the river, is to do the Canadian side first and then do the American side. Don't jump back and forth because you're just having to do formalities over and over again. The best way to do it is to see one side, then clear customs, see the other side, because then you only have to clear customs going in and going out. So don't go back and forth. A couple of spots here if you need service. Pex Marina, Village Key are two spots that offer repair services. There's also the Ivy League Club. There are slips available for restaurant patrons. It's a great restaurant. However, there's no overnight docking there. Headed further east along the St. Lawrence, you're going under the bridge to the Raft Narrows, which are east of Ivy League. This is where there's some notable current. I know some people are concerned about the current in the Thousand Islands, but until you get into this area, you're really not having much trouble. There's a couple of Parks Islands stuck underneath that bridge. Not my favorite due to the fact that they're under the bridge. You don't really want to hear the trucks going over your head all night. But Georgina and Constance are the ones that I'm referring to. Hill Island, which is under the bridge and a little to your starboard, is a great spot for hiking. However, it's a little further away from the bridges. But you'll see the traffic gets a little busier around here. There's a couple of little cottages that you might see on the way. That bottom one there, I don't know if any of you are aware of the Tomlinson Group. They're quite a big construction company that you see the red and white trucks all over the province. This is the daughter's cottage, so it's pretty snappy. And that picture on your right is of St. Lawrence. It was erected by some tour boat operators and ship captains and island owners as a landmark, if you will, if you want to keep an eye out for St. Lawrence. And that'll get you, once you're under the bridge, you're going to get yourself to Rockport, which is a little tiny town east of Hill Island. There's a couple of spots to tie up, a couple of marinas, powerboat centric, actually, this area. So if you've got a powerboat and you need some major work done, this is Ed's Hucks or Rockport are probably your best bets. If you're a scuba diver, right where that picture is taken from, there are 3 wrecks in the vicinity. So there's a couple of diving operators that work out of there, and the wrecks themselves are marked, but they're in about 100 feet of water, or 60 feet of water, sorry. So they might be difficult to get to unless you hire the diving company. There's also a boat line that offers cruises that you might be interested in. There's a really good pub in this place. It's called the, I forget the name of it, but it's the one pub in town that makes excellent fish and chips, really classic pub fare, worth the trip. Grenadier Island is next on your eastern voyage. It's one of the largest national park islands. There's 4 separate docking areas. Grenadier West, which is the first docking area that you'd get to, is a small anchorage. There's room for about two boats, which is excellent in my mind. If you can get in there, it's great. Grenadier Central is the biggest docking area. I would say avoid it just because there's room for about 30 boats in there, all on short fingers, and they allow generators. So I can imagine that 30 boats and 30 generators all stuck in a little island might not be all that much fun. But if you can get there in the fall or the spring before everybody arrives, it's certainly worth stopping in and going for a walk on the island. There's even a golf course there. And They have anchorages as well at Grenadier East and Grenadier North, but they're very shallow and best left for fishing boats. Oop, I did it again. Adelaide Island is a small, quiet island just off the eastern tip of Grenadier. There's room for about 5 or 6 boats on a crib dock, and it's where the Canadian Middle Channel and the International Shipping Channel meet. So it's a great spot to watch ships go by. But if you go up to this crib dock, I would suggest your best bet would be to get on the inside of the dock, because these freighters, even though they have a speed limit through the area, sometimes in the middle of the night they don't actually pay attention to it. So you can get quite a wake off of one of those freighters. So I've hit my head on the top of my cabin once when one went by and gave me a little bit of a bigger wake than I preferred. Stuck here. So we're going to go back. I know you're confused. You might be confused, but we're going back to Kingston now. And we're headed into that other entrance, which is because I want to show you some of the spots on the US side. I'll just go quickly through them. But that's south of Wolfe Island. So if you're coming from from Lake Ontario, from the South Shore, places like Sackett's Harbor, Sodus Bay, Oswego, those areas, you would very likely get into the Thousand Islands using this channel. And Tibbetts Point is where we're going to start, which is right near Sackett's Harbor. So when you're coming through, Sackett's Harbor is a great little spot. However, we were there last year, and one of the problems with Sackett's was their grocery store closed. So there was no place to buy groceries, and it's mind you, we got lots of offers for help from people in the marina, in Navy Point Marina. We had lots of offers for help to go and get groceries, but that's just something to keep in mind. There's lots of really nice little restaurants. And Sodus Bay is another nice historical spot. Sackett's Harbor is one of there was one War of 1812. There was a battle there, and it was also the Marine base for the Americans during the War of 1812. Clayton, New York is sort of almost the opposite side of the river from Gananoque. It's an old resort town, lots of history, municipal marinas on both ends of town, really geared towards the boating public. And one of the most interesting spots and well worth the visit if you decide to cross is the Antique Boat Museum. If anybody's ever seen it, they've got just an amazing display. There's antique boat rides available. There's a great history of wooden boats on the St. Lawrence River. Certainly worth a trip. Next spot along the south shore, or sorry, the southern shore of Lake Ontario, 11 miles away, is Alexandria Bay. It's a busy spot in the river, the American Narrows. The freighters will go through here, so you have to keep an eye on things. Lots of pleasure boats, but it's well marked, but narrow channel. I tend to lead my sails down when I'm in this part of the world, and motor. Alexandria Bay itself is another old summer resort town, peaked in the late 1800s. Lots of folks from New York State, Pennsylvania, that area, moved up and made their cottages there. There's cottages like Kate Smith, a couple of the company that owned his master's voice. Anyway, lots of old Victorian cottages, beautiful, beautiful. That in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that large building behind the one with the red roof. That's the boathouse for Bolt Castle, which is really worth the trip. Again, I so hope this border stuff will straighten itself out, because this is really worthwhile seeing. Castle began in 1900, abandoned incomplete in 1904 when George Bolt was building it for his wife. His wife died, and he told his folks to drop tools. In 1977, the Bridge Authority bought it and began restoration, and they've gone such a long way in restoring it to what the ultimate vision was. Really worthwhile. Some of you may be familiar with George Bolt. He was the manager of the Waldorf Astoria in New York, rumor has it that he might have invented Thousand Islands dressing. Sorry. So leaving Bull Castle, you're going to head to, as I said, where the International Shipping Channel and the Canadian Middle Channel meet at Adelaide Island, and you're going to be heading to Brockville, which is the last leg of our little trip here today. Brockville Narrows are there, very turbulent waters. You're going to want a motor. I have a sailboat that can hit 6.5, 7 knots under motor. When I went into Brockville last year, going through the Brockville Narrows, I was full power going eastward, and I was showing 3 knots over bottom. So you're not going to want to sail there. And that's the Brockville Narrows, and you can tell when you're going through. It's pretty whirly, especially if you get there and you have an easterly wind. With the easterly wind and the current going east, it can pick up quite a bit. But you get yourself to Brockville, which is a beautiful little town. Again, a great downtown marina right in the middle of everything. And just a gorgeous little spot. Farmers market during the summer on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Lots of restaurants, banks, everything you need within easy walking distance. And one of the most interesting things is their aquarium, which is in that large building. It's called the Landings in Brockville. They have an aquarium there that shows your wildlife and or water life in the Thousand Islands. Very interesting. And they also have Canada's first railway tunnel, which they've opened to public. It's free to walk through. Very interesting. And then they've got light show and music. And you catch that just near the marina, and you walk. It's about 2 kilometers, and you come out, and there's food trucks at the end, so you can grab a hot dog on the way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, finishes our little cruise. I hope you found it interesting. There's a lot of information. I understand that. So if you're interested in more, or yeah, I think this is getting recorded, so maybe you can watch it again. But if not, certainly you can get a hold of Cynthia and myself at that email address below. I'm sure Diane can give that to you. Or if you see sailing vessel Northern Whisper in the Thousand Islands this year, likely around Endymion Island, feel free to row over, and we can have a drink. So thank you very much. And I guess we'll open it for questions. Yes.
Thank you, Eric. That was amazing. It took me certainly through old memories when we went through Long Reach and had a sail rip on us and had to for repair. And also in Collins Bay, we had a flooded engine, and they helped us with that. So it was excellent. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Eric at this point? Oh, anybody online? I don't know who's on. We've got Aaron and Bill Hutton.
They must be hungry.
I think people are a little hungry, yes. It was so detailed though, Eric, and I think that if I were going there again, I would certainly want to look at your presentation once more, in more detail for areas that I wanted to go. Um, Ron?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Eric for the presentation also. And to say I've gone down that route as far as Kingston, but it might be very interesting to get into the Thousand Islands, probably the most interesting part of that whole end of the lake.
Yes, my husband and I definitely stayed there in some of those islands. I don't remember the names of them, but, beautiful, beautiful spots. We actually did stay under the bridge at one point, and I think went, ashore on one of the islands and did a bit of hiking. So it was, it brought so many memories back for me, so I thank you for that.
Great.
Patrick has a question. Unmute
Okay,
yourself, Patrick.
unmuting, yep. Eric, thank you very much. That was a fascinating presentation. Very, very nicely done. My question is actually about your boat. Did you say she's a Catalina 28? And if,
Yes.
no, and if so, where do you winter her?
We keep it at Peck's Marina near Ivy Lee. We haul out there. Trident Yacht Club, they do have room for some boats, but they don't have a lot of room, and they fill up the parking lot basically. But it's our preferred option is Peck's Marina in the Thousand Islands, mostly because what we get to do is pick our haul out date and put in dates. So I'm getting very anxious right now to go and get the cover off of it if it ever stops snowing here.
Well, I wish you luck with that. I'm sure it will very soon. And,
Thank you.
I've never been further than Kingston in my boat.
Yeah.
Collins Bay, Picton. I've never had time really to do justice to the Thousand Islands.
Yeah, it's certainly, yeah, I know I know a few folks from Toronto who make it down, and generally speaking, it takes about 3 days, to be comfortable, right? They'll stop, they might stop in Whitby, or they might make it all the way to Cobourg, and then Cobourg to Trenton, and then it's another day or two to get, like, at least a day to get to Kingston. You're pushing. And then, but once you get to Kingston, you're only, 10 miles to the first set, the Admiralty Islands. So it's not bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we never went that bit further, because
it's worth it.
I get to Picton in 2 days from Mimico.
Yep.
And then on down to Collins Bay and whatever.
Yeah. Cynthia and I are doing the trip from our spot to the National this summer. Actually, we're gonna be heading there in July, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay, and join us for the rum.
There you go.
Excellent. Seamus,
Um,
unmute yourself. Good, you're good.
yeah, Graham unmuted, gave me an advance warning to unmute. Thank you, Graham. I would just like to compliment Eric on a very unique presentation, and I'm absolutely fascinated at his research and how he brought all the different areas of research, whether on land, on water, history of the place. Yes, I was in Sackett's Harbor many, many years ago, what I was kept crossing my mind was, this is a wonderful present marketing material, and I would recommend Eric contact the Ontario Ministry of Tourism, if that is the correct name, because there's wonderful information here for our fellow sailors down in the excited states south of the border. And I think a marvelous marketing potential for sailing, for hotels, for fraternal relations, and I forget the female word for it. But anyway, you know, for better relations. And like Eric, I share the hope that, you know, that Mr. Trump, you didn't say it, Eric, but I hope he doesn't run for a third term. He's not entitled to.
Yeah.
But I hope for better days, because
Yeah.
I'll admit I took all that we had for granted, and it suddenly was gone. But
Yep.
I still believe that there's a chance for the Ontario economy in very specific areas, and there is quite an affluent market in that area. I really believe that. And that's what I would suggest, that maybe you already have contacts in the Ontario Ministry of Tourism.
Well, I don't, but thank you very much. And I share your hope that we can again go back and forth without having to worry, right? I'm really thinking. I've been thinking a lot about this over the last little while, and you know, I like for little things like I carry. Like my wife Cynthia and I are Nexus members, which make traveling back and forth across the border very, very simple. And those sort of privileges that we have, I certainly hope will be maintained. But we've got to be vigilant. But again, it's such a gorgeous area, and it's in particular the Thousand Islands area. They're so closely entangled, you know, you can't have one side without the other. You've got to be able to enjoy both sides. So let's hope, right?
And one last thing, you didn't mention that Collins Bay has His Majesty has a huge house with many guests.
Yes, that's true.
I've never been there.
Well, it's open for tours now, so.
Oh, it's not active anymore.
Not the men's.
But anyway, in closing, I think there are many aspects of our tourist, and our tourist season is very limited, but we have a great market to the south, and I think the various areas are well worth exploring, and there are a lot of deep pockets. I've met some of them who love coming up here. Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Bill?
I was just gonna say, I think my experience with the Great Lake Cruising Club's charts and harbor reports is in Georgian Bay, but I'm sure it also would apply to the Thousand Islands. There are so many little cubby holes that are reported that the main anchorage that everybody knows about will have 20-30 boats in it, and you get a quarter of a mile away, and there's an anchorage that is exactly the right size for your boat and your boat only.
That's right. Yep.
Thank you, Bill. Ron?
Just a remark, we've been talking obviously about recreational cruising, but it's affecting racing as well with border issues. The Lake Ontario offshore racing has races that cross the border or have in the past and need to be rethought, such as Susan Hood and the Lake Ontario 300 in particular.
Right, so we're gonna have routes that don't cross the line, is what you're saying.
Maybe the Lake Racing Association of Ireland also has a history of crossing back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, I want to say thank you for your fine presentation. And I would ask you to look for a little token of appreciation that will arrive in the mail in a week or so, depending on how our postal system works. But it was just such a pleasure to have you here. So let's give Eric another warm thank you from each other.
Thank you all for.
It's been a delight. And that brings us to what's coming up. This is our last session that we meet here, but we do have a June excursion which will be on June the 11th, going to the new Peterborough Canoe Museum. And as I mentioned before, I have flyers on the back table if you want to take a look at the details on that. And Eric, you'd be more than welcome to join us if you would like. It's the museum is now located along the Trans-Canada Trail, I beg your pardon. And so if we have a break in what we're doing or afterwards, you'll be able to take a little walk, stroll along the river there. It's quite beautiful. And then, as I mentioned before, we're going to be starting the rump on April the 30th, Wednesdays around 11:30 to 12 o'clock. Do come out and join us. I wondered if Victor would please tell us about that wonderful award that you have received.
No, just a moment.
Okay, sorry.
You'll have to unmute.
Unmute yourself, Victor. Did you hear me, Victor?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Yeah, yeah. Well, it was, you know, so many years in Arctic for me, and providing guidance and support to all those sailboats. You know, over 100 of them since, and I received actually before the award of merit from OCC in 2017. And that's been a second one, and it's a lifetime award. Okay, so eventually, what I have done, I have dedicated my award to all those I guided, and I present this type of token for all of them. Okay,
Oh,
that's that's with a that's with a Canadian coin commemorating local Inuits. And on another side, we have our King Charles III on that coin, okay, with the same logos. Okay, so what that's what I have dedicated to all of them, and I already distributed to a number of them uh, throughout the world, okay, and Canada. Okay, so there were, because there have been many Canadian sailboats as well. So so that was really something fantastic that happened. But unfortunately, I couldn't fly to Newport to receive my award because of the many of the flights were discontinued, having only a few tickets sold uh, towards Newport, and so I had to uh, resign from that and just staying safely at home.
Well,
So
congratulations, Ocean Cruising Club, that you've received a lifetime award for. You're a little bit like Herb Hilgenberg, who used to help people all the time when they were crossing the ocean. And you
yeah.
did a similar kind of job. So we thank you for your service and congratulate you on your award. Let's give.
I would like to just add a little bit. Roger Harris, probably some of you know him. Okay, he actually brought that my award to Toronto, and and uh, and uh, and there will be some kind of official presentation. I don't know where, maybe at RCYC or Port Credit or something, or maybe even at National, within the next few weeks.
Well,
Uh,
notify me and let people know. Will you do
Yeah,
that?
I'll be contacting Bob Medland about uh, our CYC, and we'll see how it will happen.
Okay, excellent. Congratulations again.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
thank you, thank you.
And just a little heads up about what's coming up in the fall. I have Adrian Johnson, and we're going to be looking at the British Virgin Islands. He's lived there for 3 years, and this is that's our first speaker. But other topics, we're going to have Dutch maritime art. We'll get a brigantine update. We're going to be looking at perf and what it means, and we're going to have a presentation on the Keewatin by Phil Dawson here, and Wayne will be doing the perf presentation. And we're also going to be looking at a video about a trip down from Norway down to the Canary Islands. So we've got a nice slate. I think I only have one spot left to fill. And I've got lots of folks in the background. So with that, pipes out.